All right, good afternoon. I'm Ann Goodchild. I'm the moderator of today's fireside chat. I don't think we have a fire, but that's the flavor of our conversation today. We've recruited a panel of experts to talk about how zero-emission urban last-mile deliveries are working for cities today. And this is really an amazing group because all of them are actually working in the space, working on the ground, doing zero emissions urban delivery now, and wanting to share their knowledge and get conversations going around how we can scale, how we can do more, how we can expand zero emissions deliveries to a larger set of communities and a larger set of cities. So before we begin, I'm going to introduce our panel and myself. I am the founding director of the Supply Chain, Transportation, and Logistics Center at the University of Washington. One of the initiatives of that center is the Urban Freight Lab that we launched about 5 years ago. And it is really the nation's first work group focused exclusively on solving urban last mile challenges. And we work collaboratively both with the public and private sector in that work. We have Adam Bryant, who's the CEO of AxleHire, who provides shippers in 11 urban areas an expedited urban delivery service focused on the last mile, using their tech-powered last mile as a service platform. AxleHire delivers same-day and next-day service using hyper-local microhubs and sortation technology to get inventory as close as possible to urban consumers, speeding delivery and increasing sustainability. Thanks for joining us, Adam. We also have Bob Tiderington, Head of Business Development and Partnerships at BrightDrop, the new electric delivery and logistics business from General Motors. Super duper exciting time for them. BrightDrop's propulsion-assisted electric pallets, or EP1s, help optimize movement of goods over short distances, as well, such as delivery vehicle to customers' doors. And they have a suite of electric products that are moving, I hear. We also have Mike Noe, Pilots Manager at Lacy, the LA Cleantech Incubator, who's been doing amazing work in the LA region and leads a team that developed the first in the nation zero emissions delivery zone established in Santa Monica in February 2021, and he'll tell us more about that. We have Dmitry Shevelenko, who's the co-founder and president of Tortoise, who is pioneering remote-controlled robotic delivery solutions that provide cost-effective zero-emissions delivery from A to B safely. And finally, Charles Jolly, who's the CEO of URBY, who is overseeing the company's mission to make the last-mile delivery clean, sustainable, and scalable. If you haven't seen URBY's products, check them out. URBY's electric vehicles can haul more than 800 pounds and still travel in bike lanes and can be moved through city streets more quickly and economically and with less environmental impact. So the way we're going to go about things today is I'm going to ask a question in a roundtable format. We're going to hear from the panelists, but we will make sure to leave about 10 minutes at the end for audience questions. So if you do have them, please enter them into the chat. We'd love to respond to any questions from the audience and make this a little bit more interactive. So my first question is for each panelist, just to explain how they're involved in delivering zero emissions last mile deliveries. And I'll start with you, Bob.
Thanks, Ann. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right. So global e-commerce is soaring as consumers want and expect their packages faster than ever before. The pandemic has only accelerated this. And in fact, according to the World Economic Forum, growth in e-commerce is expected to lead to a 36% increase in delivery vehicles on the streets of the world's top 100 cities by 2030. Just think about that. Mm-hmm. This growth is not only leading to dramatic increases in greenhouse gas emissions, but is also increasing congestion on our streets and creating safety hazards. Delivery companies are struggling to keep pace, facing labor shortages, unprofitable routes, and challenges hitting the ever-increasing bar of consumer expectations. They've also set aggressive sustainability goals and are actively seeking ways to reduce their carbon footprints, plus to reduce their impact on urban congestion. That's where BrightDrop fits in. Our solutions are designed to meet the challenges of rising e-commerce head-on and help commercial delivery companies continue to scale. More than just electrifying delivery vehicles, we are reimagining the last mile ecosystem with a holistic approach focused on helping other fleets lower costs, maximize productivity, and improve safety, all the while reducing harmful emissions and street congestion. Our portfolio includes the EV600 and EV410 vans. They're both long-range, all-electric light commercial vehicles designed with city deliveries in mind. The EP1, an electric cart available now for field testing and operational deployment. It's designed to transport goods over short distances. It offers a new take on the age-old dolly, and a cloud-based software platform focused on helping improve operations efficiency with real-time data, insights, and controls.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, I've seen really exciting things in the press about BrightDrop and your suite of solutions. Charles, if we could hear from you, since you're also involved in that space, you know, how is URBY involved in delivering zero emissions last mile deliveries?
Yeah, so I think Bob and I share a similar conviction that there's, this massive increase in demand, but also simultaneously, I think there's all these new trucks and cars and vans that are on our roads choking up the streets, and cities and citizens have really started to notice that. And so it really puts a lot of delivery operators, I think, in a very difficult spot, that you both need to scale, increase volume, increase your delivery fleet. But at the same time, like everyone's telling you, get off the road and stay out of the way and stop, collecting hundreds of thousands of dollars in parking tickets. And so, what we've been working on for about the last 3 years with some big e-commerce companies is a solution to deploying a very scalable all-electric last mile. And the main thing I think we're really thinking a lot about is, how do you make a system that can actually be adopted into the existing delivery supply chain that already exists? So we have small electric vehicles that we can roll out into different neighborhoods. A bike and a trailer system in New York that can pull 800 pounds, as you mentioned. We can work with companies like Tortoise on doing autonomous or semi-autonomous, which we're really excited about. But then we add also this idea of small foldable micro containers that can be packed anywhere and shipped into that neighborhood. And that really unlocks all of this efficiency and being able to practically integrate it into the upstream. And, it gives us an opportunity to work with companies like AxleHire and others who are really focused on delivering the best in class experience to their customers and doing green delivery and also having a nationwide footprint. They can basically, if you can pack it into a container and you already use trucks, then URBY looks basically exactly the same. And yet you get all of the advantages of these next generation green electric vehicles at the end. And at scale, it's actually cheaper than running gas vans. So we think it's really a great opportunity to actually do some really good, meet the demand for customers, and at the same time improve the economics for all of the delivery operators out there.
Yeah, thanks, Charles. And yeah, you mentioned, there's the sort of vehicle side, but also the integration side and the tools that are required for that. So maybe that's a good introduction to AxleHire. I know, having worked with you on the Seattle Neighborhood Delivery Hub, you guys have been a really nimble and sort of forward-looking carrier. Could you talk about how you've been involved in delivering zero emissions deliveries?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as you described, we're an end-to-end technology platform for last mile urban delivery. We do both same and next day. And we've really built an end-to-end solution to orchestrate a seamless delivery experience from the client's warehouse all the way to the consumer's doorstep. So the way that we're doing this is we're matching the client demand, which in this case is the shipper, with driver capacity, and then creating dense routes using our proprietary routing algorithms. And then we're then allocating this to delivery partners. These are primarily gig drivers, but can be other partners as well, as we can see here around the table. So if we talk about URBY for a minute, all the packages are coming into our sortation hub. We know the cubic volume of these containers. And so we can build routes and do the sortation specifically for that capacity size. URBY can then come to our facility, load their containers at our facility into a truck, can then bulk move that truck to a neighborhood micro hub. So you basically get to cut out all those individual stem miles that would be driven by an individual driver. So it's far more efficient. And then when it gets to that deployment zone, then the e-bikes, as Charles alluded to, can then go off and do those deliveries in the true final mile, which is where normally the most congestion, the most complexity, and the most inefficiency usually lies. Mm-hmm. If we talk about the Los Angeles Cleantech Incubator, which we will hear in a minute, with this solution, it's very similar. Again, we know the specific vehicle types that we're going to work with on a particular day, so we can route those, size those routes appropriately. And in this example, we are allocating these routes 100% to electric vehicles. So all those vehicles are coming to our hub, picking up and delivering those packages emission-free. So we're providing all the in-app navigation and support, tracking and visibility to the recipients, clients, and drivers throughout that delivery.
Yeah, so it's not just substituting sort of different vehicles for ones we used to use, but also a more integrated sort of end-to-end changes that you need in the ability to manage and assign fleets.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
Well, so that's a nice intro to Mike Noe from Lacy. How have you guys been supporting zero emissions delivery?
First off, thank you, Anne. I'm thrilled to be part of this conversation with so many leaders in the renewable energy and sustainable economy. I came to this field after my career in the Air Force, and I was specifically seeking an organization with a mission designed to serve others. And I feel like I found it with Lacy. Their primary strategy is bringing people together to create that inclusive green economy. So as Adam touched on, Lacy's has established a zero emission delivery zone, and I'm the pilot manager for that effort. It really is a sandbox for testing zero emission delivery, i.e. freight, in a 1 square mile geographic area. We're operating out of Santa Monica. And really the focus is bringing together tech companies, city governments, and community-based organizations to try and advance policy and technology solutions needed to reduce air and climate pollution, noise, congestion, while also creating a blueprint for other cities to follow. Everyone that's part of this panel has a relationship with Lacy, either through the Zero Emission Delivery Zone or other efforts that are underway. So it's really exciting to see all these partners working together and really focused on making a change, for the better, really focusing on getting after those obstacles and those hurdles that are in the way for really making zero emission delivery for the last mile a real reality on the ground, and figuring out ways that cities can lower the barriers and change their policies so that it's adopted, beyond Los Angeles. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really, really fantastic work. And as someone, at the Urban Freight Lab, we've led pilots ourselves. I know that that's a lot of work and a lot of coordination and a lot of engagement. So I think collectively, we're all really grateful that you've put effort into that, and that Lacy is doing the work that they're doing. We need more examples of the Urban Freight Lab and Lacy, and I know we all have the energy to do it. It's just moving those mechanisms forward. So Dimitri from Tortoise, how are you involved in delivering zero emissions last mile deliveries?
Hey everybody, it's a real treat to be part of this awesome panel. Thanks everyone for listening. Excited for the conversation. So Tortoise, we make a zero emissions remote control delivery robot that can carry 250 pounds of goods. And it goes an average speed of 4 miles per hour, top speed of 8 miles per hour. And what we've done that's a bit different is we've really created a modular platform where on the same robot, you can load on very different types of containers. So we worked with AxleHire, being part of their logistics network, and we had containers for that. We work directly with top grocers like Safeway and ShopRite, and we have last mile delivery containers designed for that use case. And they're all modular and slot onto the same robot. We've worked with grocers on middle mile use cases with one big large container that was transporting 100 grilled rotisserie chickens between a prep facility and a store that was selling them. And we're just doing that same route back and forth. And so by focusing on these modular use cases and not starting with autonomy as our North Star. So 100% of the time, we are remote controlled. There's somebody that is looking out of the cameras that are on the robot and using a Xbox controller at a low speed, driving it from A to B. So we're not trying to replace humans. We're trying to empower people to do last mile, middle mile logistics work from the comfort of their own home anywhere in the world. And we're in doing so, making the last mile, the little mile more affordable, easier to staff in the current environment, and ultimately a lot more sustainable.
Thanks, Dimitri. It's a really exciting time to be, in transportation. It's a particularly exciting time to be in the last mile and in zero emissions. There's a lot of need, right, to find efficiencies and to reduce our carbon footprint. And I know, innovating takes, especially as an entrepreneur, takes a lot of work and a lot of commitment. So I enjoy being part of that, but I sort of collectively want to also thank you as innovators and entrepreneurs in pushing and making progress. So maybe you and Mike, I think, mentioned, there are substantial challenges that sort of collectively we're working on to make sure we move forward with zero emissions delivery. I guess I'll ask each of you to speak to sort of what you're focusing your efforts on now. What do you see as kind of the next focus or challenge for your organization? And Charles, maybe we'll start with you. But what are you focusing your efforts on now? Or
yeah, so I think as I mentioned, we've been developing our platform with a number of partners, large e-commerce partners, for the last 3 years or so. And I think one thing that we've definitely learned is as anybody who's been in logistics will probably tell you, but one of the hardest things about this space is it's pretty easy to come up with something on a whiteboard, and then you ship it and you'll find out all of the subtle ways in which it doesn't quite work and you have to tweak it. And so getting these systems to actually work at some scale is just a very, very long road of real world deployments, meeting your high expectations until you get something that really works. And so now that seems to be functioning, and I think we've settled in on a couple of different major types of containers that tend to satisfy a lot of the different cargo needs, and we have vehicles that can go into a lot of areas. I think the next step for us is really focused on getting that footprint into all of the neighborhoods, and that means working with cities and and bringing on the partnerships and local delivery providers and everybody else that needs to make it really turnkey. I think what people don't realize when you buy a van, one reason it's so hard for us to move to some new systems is that you get so many things for free when you get a van, with fueling stations and service centers and trained drivers and insurance and all of that. And so we really view it, that's like, I would say 80% of my energy these days is really focused around solving for all of the other pieces beyond just the new vehicle type, but also, how do you actually really make it turnkey for someone at scale who has, 10,000, 100,000 packages a day they want to flow through into this? How do you make it quick for them to turn it on? And that's a lot of trial and error and just building brick by brick until you get there.
Yeah.
And building partnerships like we are with everyone on the screen, really.
Yeah, I feel really strongly as well that research, right, as part of what you guys are doing, and we collaborate with that. It's irreplaceable to do on the ground work, and that has to be done. So yeah, couldn't agree more.
You're totally right. Yeah, it's surprising how often you do research on something that seems like it should make a huge difference, and either it makes way bigger effect than you thought, or doesn't matter at all, or if you just made it slightly different, then it's a totally different outcome. And you're totally right. Like, really good quality research is missing in this space.
And cities are complicated places, right? With a lot going on. It's very different from a lab or from our minds, maybe. That's been a big motivator for us in doing empirical work at the Urban Freight Lab. Dimitri, what have you guys been, focused on to move forward? What do you see as sort of the key pathways to success?
Yeah, so from the origin, Tortoise had three key pillars in our approach to automation in the public sphere. So low speed comes before high speed. Something that's going 5 miles an hour is a lot less dangerous than something going 50 miles an hour. We really believe in that one. We named the company Tortoise. Light mass comes before heavy mass. Pillar number two, something that weighs 250 pounds, a lot less dangerous than something that weighs 2.5 tons. Third, as I hit on before, remote controlled comes before autonomous. And as we've been operating, we've actually added two new ones in terms of the sequencing. So middle mile comes before last mile. So if I'm doing the same set of routes day in, day out, and not adding new addresses, I'm going to be providing this type of service a lot more reliably than discovering new edge cases. And so we're seeing a lot of kind of just traction in the middle mile. And then the fifth one, this is going to be a new product line we're announcing in a few weeks, is selling comes before delivering. So one of the things we've done in terms of our modular containers is we actually built one that has a tap to pay reader built in. And so we're now helping merchants with a mobile smart store. So it's a mobile vending machine that you can put in different positions throughout a city throughout the day, and help kind of, in some ways eliminate the need for delivery by bringing goods to people, before they need to order it, right? So anticipating that demand for deploying it and making it super accessible. So that's going to be a big, exciting push for us in 2022.
Thanks, Dimitri. Adam, what are you sort of focusing your efforts on? What do you see as the path to success here?
Yeah, so I'd say it's a couple things. First, we want to focus on scaling with the zero emission partnerships we have around the table. Anything that improves sustainability without trade-offs for us is a no-brainer. So I'd say that first. The second, we're focusing on what we believe to be our largest lever, which is very simply driving efficiency in the last mile. We need to recognize where we're at on, for example, the electrification curve. Just some stats I was looking at recently. EVs and plug-in hybrids make up something like 4 to 5% of US vehicle sales in 2021. And EVs make up something like 1% of vehicles on American roads today. So if the average lifespan of a vehicle is somewhere around 15 years from the moment it's manufactured to the point that it's scrapped, even if we were to switch over 100% to EV production tomorrow, it would still take 15 years, give or take, to replace internal combustion engines. So the biggest levers that we're using on a daily basis right now is a fewfold. One is a heterogeneous fleet, sedans, SUVs, minivans, e-bikes in this situation, so on and so forth. The Tortoise type of robots. The idea here is to right size capacity for different jobs. And the way that we think about this, for example, if you look at FedEx and UPS and you think about these larger types of vehicles that are making these deliveries, and you look kind of pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, a disproportionate shift has happened between the amount of volume that was going to businesses versus actually going to consumer. And you start to look at the growth of e-commerce and you look at the package sizes and like these poly bags, and you say, okay, is their limit now based on capacity, like the vehicle they're driving to fit all those packages, or is it time? If I think how many poly bags can I fit in a sedan, I don't want to say it's infinite, but it's many, and I'm probably going to run out of my 8-hour shift before I run out of capacity. And so does it make sense to have a 6 to 10 miles per gallon big truck driving up and down residential roads? Not necessarily. So if we can find the right tool for the right job, that's a big lever that we have to boost efficiency. The other is leveraging micro hubs to bring parcels in bulk to density pockets. Great example of this is as Charles just described with the URBY deployment. And we do this as well with our drivers. So we have a bunch of routes going the same way to some distance reasonably far away from our sortation hub. We may determine, today it makes sense to bulk move all of these routes to that area and then have our drivers pick up from there. So the final mile gets compressed. And then it really comes down to just building out this network in order to reduce the mile per package, which I think is a very important metric.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam. We've been sort of quantifying that deliveries to residences versus commercial, and it's been just an absolute shift in the last 2 years, and I think collectively we sort of don't have our heads around that yet. But so it's but it is changed the way we need to plan for and supply fleets.
And of course, our whole model is aggregation and batching, right? The point-to-point style of delivery makes it very, very challenging to deliver sustainably. And so whenever we get the opportunity to batch and aggregate, that's a really key ingredient as well.
Yeah. Thanks. There's so much more I want to ask, but Mike, for you guys, what are you focusing your efforts on now? What do you see as the pathway to success?
Yeah, absolutely. So me specifically at Lacy, the project I'm running, the Zero Emission Delivery Zone, we're in our second year. The city of Santa Monica agreed to extend for a second year through the end of this 2022. And we're really going to focus our efforts on increasing and integrating our understanding of the automotive curb data. Those are the cameras that are staring directly at the curbs, where we've created prioritized EV loading zones, which has been a challenge for some delivery partners finding places to park. That's an issue that wasn't really aware of until we started shining a light on it. We're also seeking to recruit more delivery partners and implementing a delivery hub, a micro delivery hub, along the lines of what Adam and URBY are partnering to develop. And really, we're just trying to drive the usage amongst the local businesses. We found, everyone understands in general terms what EV delivery and last mile delivery is about, but until you bring it to the local businesses and present it in a way that not only makes sense, but is, delivering value to them, lowering their costs, it really doesn't, take hold. Lacy writ large is on a tear. In fact, I would say we've got over a dozen pilots going into effect this year. And a lot of that's from the new administration's pivot to the green economy and renewable energies. So specifically taking a thread directly out of the Zed's tapestry, we've got another pilot that's funded by the Department of Energy Vehicle Technology Office, and it's going to expand that focus on the curb usage and prioritized EV loading zones, and that's going to happen in partnership with the City of Los Angeles, the City of Pittsburgh. Santa Monica is going to continue to be a partner with that. And we've got, lots of different universities involved that are going to be sharing their knowledge and aggregating, as Adam said, their experiences and knowledge. And so we can really focus on those policy business learnings and seek ways to adopt and, spread the knowledge and the awareness, so that it can be adopted as far afield as we can get it. So a lot of that's the focus for Lacy going forward.
Thanks, Mike. It is it's exciting time. It's just fantastic that we're able to do that work now. And Bob, I'm going to take you last in terms of where is BrightJob focusing their effort? What do you see as the pathway to success?
Yeah, sure. So, for us, it's been taking a holistic approach to solving the last mile emissions and congestion challenge. We don't believe the solution to solving the last mile is one size fits all. And we don't believe it's adding more vehicles to the road. At the same time, we want to make the transition to an all-electric future as seamless as possible for our customers. And in doing so, are providing the solutions they need for nearly every aspect of the delivery journey. That's why we're approaching this very differently by offering a holistic set, of solutions designed to decarbonize last mile delivery and reduce congestion in our streets. We aren't just delivering electric products or just a software platform. We're really providing an entire ecosystem of hardware and software solutions designed to help lower fleet costs, maximize productivity, and improve safety. So if you look at the cost of delivering a package today, not only is that really focused on a small percentage of which is the vehicle. It's like 15%. There's the other 85%, which is really the opportunity we're targeting with the broader ecosystem. With the backing of General Motors, we think that EVs are the easy part to understand and scale, and we view them as the platform for which we're building everything else around. For us, the real value unlock as a company is everything else, and that's where BrightDrop's holistic ecosystem approach differentiates itself. So real quickly, one of the primary focuses we have is bringing our EP1 electric cart to market as a fully commercial product. According to Shopify, the global smart parcel locker market size is expected to reach $1.6 billion by 2028, with a CAGR of more than 12% during the window between now and then. So we really envision our EP1 being very much in the mix of that as a solution.
Yeah, the numbers are just astonishing. The amount of volume that, I mean, we're already carrying, but can expect to continue to grow is like really hard to imagine. It's
pretty staggering.
Yeah, really staggering. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, as I said, we could talk for a very long time about these issues. I have like questions for each of you, but we're gonna make sure we get to hear from the audience. So if you do have questions, please put them in the chat. We'd really like to be able to address the things that you're interested in. And this is an amazing panel, so take advantage of their time. So the first one is, who is charging the e-bikes? Maybe public charging stations could be placed at these micro hubs. So I don't know, maybe Chris, or maybe Charles, you want to take that one? Sorry, we can't.
Sorry, there you go. I was trying to be nice and keep my mute on.
Yeah.
This is actually a really great topic because, I think one thing that people don't think much about when you start deploying all these electric vehicles is that you're going to have thousands and thousands of lithium-ion batteries floating around your city. And there's, safety issues with that if you're not careful with how you manage them and transport them. So all of our vehicles and most e-bike based vehicles have swappable batteries. And that's really great because if you do it right, that means you could take one of these vehicles and keep it on the road for maybe 16 hours a day, across a couple of shifts. And with the containerization, you could easily replace a large truck with this very small vehicle because of how quickly you can turn over the volume on it. But in order to do that, you need to basically have these batteries stationed kind of strategically so that you can do those swapping. So the way we actually think most of this is going to end up working, and there's also issues with charging. That's when you have the highest fire hazards. So we think that most cities are going to end up adopting a model where you'll have charging performed at semi-centralized locations and then delivered throughout the day to way stations within each neighborhood to sort of keep everyone supplied, which is, not quite as important for you're doing, like, say, the micro hubs or that have parking spots for these vehicles. It's not like an electric car that you need to plug it in per se. But, I do think like building out the charging infrastructure for swappable battery vehicles is going to be a really interesting opportunity space for the next coming years, because there's going to be a lot more vehicles that are going to adopt that model, not just the e-bikes.
Right. Thanks. Does anyone else want to comment on that? We can. All right. We have a question for Dimitri. How do you handle cold delivery?
Yeah, so we generally focus on delivery distances 3 miles or less. And so we're going 4 miles an hour. So we don't have to keep things cold for a long time. We have passed food safety tests with several leading grocers using ice packs that have, there's placeholders in the containers for the ice packs. And so for a 2-hour round trip, we're able to take something that's refrigerated and keep it under 38 degrees for at least 2 hours. And so, because again, we're not going these longer distances, it's a simpler problem for us.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. So this next question is a little long, but I guess we'll just maybe take it in pieces. But how does the logistics hub coordinate or integrate with companies doing the largest volume of deliveries? And is zero emissions last mile delivery currently economically viable, especially in areas where it's not subsidized in some form or mandated? If not, what are the biggest hurdles to making autonomous plus electric delivery more economically viable than traditional delivery means? So yeah, anyone want to tackle that one?
Like, let's see. I think the first one was about how does the logistics hub coordinator integrate with companies doing the largest volume of delivery. So I can speak from AxleHire's perspective on this. We do not integrate directly with other carriers. We work directly with the shipper. So we're essentially, think of it as we're another solution for those shippers. So we're all delivering. We like to think that we're delivering a superior experience to all of these shippers. But yes, we're not integrated with other carriers.
And I would just add that there are, currently a number of different models that are being experimented with in terms of hubs. That's where we are. People have ideas and are testing solutions. And as Charles mentioned, we need to do that on the ground. So I wouldn't say there's like one, model for a hub. The hub that we ran in Seattle was open to multiple partners. They can basically operate independently in the same space. So yeah, I think it's up for experiment at this time.
We will work with other carriers like DSPs in that example, and we can be integrated directly with those. But for FedEx, for example, they've got their own hub and spoke network, their own assets, their own drivers. So it's just a different model.
Yeah.
Can I just?
Yeah, please.
Can I throw something on the zero emission bit? I think that so like our vehicles, we actually do get positive unit economics on it once we get to a kind of a minimum level of skill. It's not very high within each neighborhood. But I think what's really more interesting about that is that I think one thing that people maybe don't always realize is that there's a lot of attention that goes to the sort of, get me a burrito, get me a toothbrush in 15 minutes. And that's where the ebikes are being deployed, and that's zero emission. But actually, those are very hard to make economical. Like the way to make delivery scale, it's all about density. You need to have a lot of packages per hour that you get delivered, and some of that is the routing and packing tech, sorting tech that like AxleHire does. And then some of that is like having the technology itself, like what we deploy. It's meant to carry very high volumes of packages. 800 pounds. It's not like a small amount. And that's really, really crucial. So you can get to positive unit economics with all electric. I think that, and I think EVs, by the way, are really important. Like electric vans and trucks are going to be a really important part of this, but also just like thinking we're just going to swap out EVs for gas for EV is like saying you're going to build a faster horse. I think like the way that you get to good economics is really embracing the electrification kind of attributes from the ground up and rethinking your whole system that way, which a lot of us here would probably agree with. But I think it can be economical, but it's not as much of a straight line as a lot of people think about when they first get into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think to piggyback on Charles's comment, I think the metric that's really important here is utilization of the asset. We can talk about a purely electric vehicle. We can talk about an ICE, but let's zoom out beyond the vehicle itself and talk about utilization, because that's really how many drops per hour are you doing? This kind of the new craze that we've heard about 15-minute delivery. I'm going to get it to you in 10 minutes. That really makes it challenging, right? Because it cuts out your planning time. It cuts out your ability to aggregate, and it cuts out the ability to drive that density. Yeah. I came from electric bus industry is just one example. And there, our metric that we were looking at was kind of miles per gallon equivalent. And we would compare that to a diesel, which is the right comparison. We're making a bus, they're making a bus. How much more efficient are we? And of course, much more efficient, right? Electric bus. Now, if I'd be driving around the Bay Area, though, I would often see buses with 3 people on them. And so the challenge there is like, okay, great. We've got this bus that's much more efficient, or it's not efficient, from a powertrain perspective. But if it's carrying 3 people, why don't we put those 3 people on a sedan? You know what I mean? So it's just, I think it comes down to the right tool for the right job and then driving utilization.
Yeah. Thank you, Adam. And I want to take one more question before we have to wrap up. And that is directed at you, Adam. It says, I'm wondering if you have to alter package sortation and loading practices based on the type of vehicle, and if that's a challenge to scaling.
For the most part, the beautiful thing about the way we do things at AxleHire is the software takes care of most of all of this. So the way that we route, the algorithms that we use, we can kind of pre-plan. We know what capacity we want to design for, either just using predictive. We know how many vehicles showed up of this nature yesterday or the previous Monday, or we'll have some of this stuff lined up in advance. And so we can make all of these routes using the same exact process, just dynamically. And so it will tell us when those packages come in, which route to put them on. So when Charles's team comes and they've got their containers and they hold X number of packages, that route is already pre-configured.
Mm-hmm. But that's, yeah, and that takes a different perspective kind of from the ground up, right? That you've already baked into the way you've tried to approach this problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I want to thank the panel. I feel like we just got going and there's so much to talk about, but that's where we are. And thanks for your attendance. Appreciate all the questions from the audience. And we'll sign off.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks
Thanks
guys.
for everyone.
Bye,
Nice to
everybody.
see you. Bye-bye.